A big announcement coming from former President Donald Trump this evening. NTD's on the ground at the president's Mar-a-Lago home in Florida.
On June 27, 2016, Avalara hired Mr. Morrison as a senior database administrator. He had performance problems at Avalara, and they gave him corrective training, but they did not fire him. On October 4, 2016, Mr. Morrison abruptly resigned from his job. On October 6, 2016, Mr. Morrison had an exit interview with Human Resources Director Wendy Johnson. According to Ms. Johnson's notes, Mr. Morrison did and said the following in the meeting. He said was fired as a sacrifice by a director he felt was responsible for a major miss in a project, and he was not going to let that happen again. He produced a copy of an agreement titled Confidential Separation Agreement and a color copy of a check made out to him for $100,000 dated October 2013. He directed Ms. Johnson to look at the amount of the check and the date, saying, "Do you see how much that is? That is the first of 2 checks I received from that company for a total of $150,000. That is how much they paid me for mishandling that situation. I left there in November 2012, and that date is a year later." He indicated that he did not let it go. He said, "We can do this one of 2 ways, and I'll give you a few days. You can give me a severance agreement, or you'll be hearing from me." He also said, "This has cost me money to come here, and I'm going to cost Scott money." As he departed, he said, "I will give you a few days to consider. I think you'll find I can be an expensive ex-employee." Then followed a series of emails between Mr. Morrison and Ms. Johnson, in which he insisted that the company negotiate a severance agreement with him. On November 14, 2016, Ms. Johnson emailed Mr. Morrison stating that the company would not give him severance pay and told him to speak to the company legal counsel, Alizia Pinney. On November 22nd, Mr. Morrison emailed Ms. Pinney stating the following: "Please be aware, doing nothing is not an option on the table. In this type of situation, it is my policy to execute a separation agreement with a former employer. If you go into ignore mode or fail to respond that you are willing to negotiate, then I may escalate this matter without further notice to you." On November 23, 2016, Ms. Pinney sent Mr. Morrison an email stating that the company would not be giving him any money. His response was, "You are not the decision maker on closing the matter. I am. I will be escalating this to others within your organization." Meanwhile, a campaign of vandalism and harassment against random Avalara employees began. Interspersed in these incidents were occasional emails to Avalara from Morrison, in which he continued to request a severance and threatens to escalate this matter to others. The following is a summary of known vandalism incidents with a few representative photos of the vandalism. Incident number 1, Avalara spray painted on the garage door and personal vehicle. Incident number 2, Avalara spray painted on garage door of rental property owned by Avalara employee. Incident number 3, Avalara spray painted on car while parked in front of home. Incident number 4, Avalara spray painted on garage of a customer of Avalara. Incident number 5, Make Avalara Great Again, written in spray paint on home of Allison Paisley. She assumes it occurred at 1 a.m. when the neighbor's dog was barking. Incident number 6, Orange paint on car of Avalara employee. Incident number 7, Avalara wigs written in spray paint on home. Truck covered in orange paint. Incident number 8, Avalara and wigs equal child rapist written in spray paint on the home of Avalara employee. Car covered in paint. Incident number 9, Avalara wigs spray painted on vehicle parked in front of home. Incident number 10, Avalara spray painted on employee of an Avalara customer's home garage. Incident number 11, 2 vehicles spray painted including the word Avalara. Incident number 12, Avalara spray painted on vehicle. There is a clubhouse across the street that had surveillance footage. A man walking down the road in the footage from quite a distance away can be seen. Note that several of the incidents involved the words Wiggs. Jonathan Wiggs was Mr. Morrison's direct supervisor at Avalara. Several days after the last two of the above incidents, Mr. Morrison had the following email exchange with Avalara. Hi, Wendy and Shauna. I have not heard back from you in a few weeks. I thought I would reach out and inquire if we can negotiate a separation agreement. If I don't hear back from you, I may escalate this matter to others within your organization. Thanks, James. Penny responded that Avalara was not offering Morrison severance pay. He responded in part, no war is over until the enemy says it's over. We may think it over, we may declare it over, but in fact, the enemy gets a vote. With that in mind, you should be fully aware that you do not get to declare this matter is closed. The resolution of this matter can only be reached by an agreement of both parties. The sooner you understand that, the sooner we can begin negotiations. If you choose not to enter into any negotiations, then the matter is not resolved. I reserve the right to escalate this matter. In that email, Mr. Morrison also reiterates his demands for a separation agreement. Reference the payoff he'd received from Wolters Kluwer detailed below, although in a separate email he denied asking for money and stated, if you are not yet ready, I will reach out in about a month or two and inquire. Incident number 13. Avalara Wiggs painted on home and truck destroyed by some unknown type of acid. Incident number 14. Avalara written in orange paint on door and sidewalk. After the two incidents in May occurred in North Carolina, I began investigating Morrison and his connection to the state. According to the commercial database Accurant, as late as 2010, Morrison lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, about 140 miles from where the crimes occurred in Chapel Hill and Durham. Accurant reports that Mr. Morrison may have relatives in North Carolina. On June 9, 2017, I applied for and received multiple search warrants in an effort to confirm that Morrison was present in North Carolina in the vicinity of the vandalism incidents on May 27, 2017. The information I have obtained as a result of those warrants follows. The Alamo Vehicle Rental Agency, based in the airport at Charlotte, North Carolina, confirmed that Morrison rented a 2017 Dodge Charger on May 21, 2017, and returned it on May 28, 2017. Records show that he put 674 miles on the vehicle. Durham is 140 miles from Charlotte. American Airlines confirmed that Morrison flew one of their flights from Seattle to Charlotte on May 21, 2017, and returned to Seattle on May 28, 2017. The flight was paid for by Vicky Hafela, believed to be his mother, from an address in Charlotte, North Carolina. T-Mobile supplied Morrison's cell phone records covering the date range of the Durham and Chapel Hill vandalism incidents. My analysis of the location information provided confirms that Morrison traveled from the Charlotte metropolitan area to the Durham metropolitan area late in the evening in May 26th and returned to Charlotte in the early morning hours of May 27th, 2017. That corresponds with the times of the vandalism incidents in the Durham and nearby Chapel Hill. On June 23, 2017, I asked the Avalara Corporate Counsel to engage Morrison in a discussion about his demands for a separation agreement. Ms. Pinney sent an email scolding him for victimizing people in North Carolina and requested that he stop. Morrison dismissed Ms. Pinney's allegation that he committed vandalism in North Carolina as a wild allegation. He did not seek any clarification or discussion of these crimes, as would be expected of someone who was ignorant of them. After several emails back and forth, Morrison presented a list of demands in an email, which included the company paying him $150,000 and firing 2 employees. He did not say why they should be fired. On June 29, 2017, I arrested Mr. Morrison as he was sitting in a bank in Issaquah, setting up an account for what he believed would be a large sum of money that would come into his possession. Modus operandi, Wolters Kluwer. Initially, I was only vaguely aware of Mr. Morrison's conflict with Wolters Kluwer because the company would not discuss the incident due to a confidentiality agreement. Eventually, I was able to review a large trove of emails between Wolters Kluwer and Mr. Morrison after I obtained a search warrant for the information. Wolters Kluwer is a global information services company with 19,000 employees based in the Netherlands. In February of 2011, they hired Mr. Morrison to work in the Bellevue, WA office of their subsidiary, Pharmacy One. On November 20th, 2012, they terminated Mr. Morrison for performance problems, which included rude and volatile behavior towards his co-workers. In May of 2013, Mr. Morrison began sending terse emails to Wolters Kluwer, complaining that they were mishandling his 401k rollover. Then he accused them via email of disparaging him to potential new employers. Without warning, the following 4 vandalism incidents occurred. Incident number 1, child rapist, Kai Pedersen Centret, written on home of Kai Pedersen, the man who fired Mr. Morrison. Sentry 7 is the software product Mr. Pedersen worked on with WK. Also, flyers accusing Mr. Pedersen of being a child molester were placed in his neighborhood. Julie Very was a Wolters Kluwer human resources manager and had nothing to do with this. Incident number 2, child rapist, Kai Pedersen Centret written on home of WK customer. Incident number 3, Centret Kaj and Pedersen rapist, written on house and car. Incident number 4, Sentry 7, KAJ rapist and Pedersen, written in orange paint on garage doors. These incidents, all with nearly identical messages, spanned 3 states in less than 2 weeks. The day after the last incident, August 19th, Wolters Kluwer lawyers and executives began receiving emails from Mr. Morrison demanding that they negotiate with him for a $150,000 separation agreement. If they missed his deadline of September, he said he would seek $250,000. The recipients of the emails at Wolters Kluwer were frightened by them because Mr. Morrison would say that he intended to contact remotely located people in person. He noted that he had planned family vacation to Europe and would take a side trip to visit Nancy McKinstry, the Wolters Kluwer CEO, and Kevin Entricken, Wolters Kluwer CFO, in Amsterdam. He terrified Minneapolis-based Wolters Kluwer Human Resources Director Julie Venny when he boasted that he was able to identify her husband, who has a different name, and found out that her mother lived in Lowe. He told her that he would visit her husband at work and drop the names of their children. In emails, Mr. Morrison indicated that he would try sabotage the banking career of her husband by contacting the board of directors of his employer. He also threatened to contact the nonprofit at which Miss Very volunteered. On September 9th, 2013, Mr. Morrison sent Miss Very an email titled, "Road Trip to Loa to Visit the Family," and in the body of the email listed the names of all of her relatives that reside in that state. He said, "I will be sure to let them know about you on my way through Loa." He never followed through in any of these threats. However, they were taken seriously because they knew that he had recently traveled from Washington State to New Jersey and Massachusetts in order to vandalize people's property. Wolters Kluwer hired private detectives to surveil Mr. Morrison in order to protect their employees. On November 11th, 2013, Mr. Morrison caught a private detective putting a GPS tracker on his car while it was parked in front of his home in the Issaquah area and called the police. This is documented King County Sheriff Report 20L3-214975. There were no clues to directly tie Mr. Morrison to the vandalism incidents, and no serious effort was made by the police to investigate the matter as an extortion. On October 1st, 2013, Wolters Kluwer gave James Morrison a check for $100,000 as part of a separation agreement. There were no more vandalism incidents. Conclusion. In the past 4 years, Two different companies for which Mr. Morrison has previously worked have the following things occur. Mr. Morrison demanded severance payment, which was denied. Numerous employees or customers in multiple states were victims of graffiti on their property. The graffiti mentioned something unique to the company, Avalara or Century 7. The graffiti mentioned the name of someone in a supervisory position over Mr. Morrison, Pedersen or Wiggs. James Morrison, aka Jim Lewis, was convicted of extortion in first and second degree on October 12, 2017. Morrison is currently engaged in civil litigation against the new leadership of the Wall Street silver community to suppress his record and continue to profit off the community he no longer represents. Help us let Elon know by sharing this video far and wide. And be sure to follow the Real Wall Street Silver Community account, our Wall Street SILV.
Tick tock, tick tock, tick. Tick tock, tick tock, tick. Tick tock, tick tock, tick. You did